The story begins with a speech at Academy Island, given by the top student. Hiroto gives a speech where he acts really proud and looks down on everyone. This makes all the other students at the orientation upset. After the speech, Hiroto goes backstage and realizes how bad his speech was. He's scared of what might happen because of it. Academy Island is a school run by the Seonji Corporation. It has fancy technology and a ranking system based on stars earned from winning games. The highest rank is 7 stars. On Hiroto's first day, he meets Sarasa Shianji while trying to find his school building. Sarasa teases him and offers to help him find the right place. Sarasa doesn't take Hiroto seriously as a new student and thinks he just wants to talk to her. She makes fun of him and tells him some basics about the school. She also mentions how higher-ranking students can check lower-ranking ones. But when they reach District 4, Sarasa realizes she has an orientation to attend and leaves. Just as she goes, a sprinkler soaks her. She thinks Hiroto did it on purpose to embarrass her and challenges him to a game to get back at him. Hiroto doesn't know anything about the game but agrees with the condition that she listens to him afterward. Sarasa sets up the game with tough rules like a staring contest where you can't show any emotion. She uses her power to make it harder for Hiroto. The game starts and Sarasa tries to make Hiroto react, but he stays calm. When it's Hiroto's turn, the sprinkler soaks Sarasa and she gets embarrassed, losing the game. Hiroto's victory gets him in trouble with the headmistress. He finds out that Sarasa is very important because she's Masamune Shinji's granddaughter and a top student. The problem is that people will talk if they find out he beat her. To avoid trouble, the headmistress suggests he pretends to be a 7-star student. After the speech, Hiroto goes to the dorm provided by the headmistress. On the way, he meets Sarasa in a dark alley. She's worried he's figured out she's not the real Sarasa. Hiroto explains he didn't know and that he's new. They agree to keep the lie a secret. Hiroto is impressed by his dorm room when he finally arrives. When Hiroto arrives at his dorm, he's surprised to meet Shirayuki Himejin, who's there to assist him. She's a student from Oka Academy in District 3. Hiroto is a bit overwhelmed by how formal and welcoming she is, so he tells her to relax and take it easy. They go to have a fancy dinner, which is a big deal for Hiroto because he's not used to such luxury. He insists that Shirayuki joins him for the meal. After dinner, they go to a secret room for a strategy meeting. They discuss how Hiroto is pretending to be a 7-star using the red star, which is like a trick. They need to be careful. Shirayuki tells Hiroto about the different regions and rankings on the island. In reality, Hiroto is also just a 1-star and can only use level 1 attacks. But it's important for the company that he keeps pretending to be a 7-star, and they're willing to help him. Hiroto meets 5 people who will assist him in winning games. Kagaya is the tech expert who can use hacking to help in games. Hiroto uses Kagaya's skills to win a game that day. Back at school, Hiroto is already popular. His classmates hold a tournament to decide who gets to show him around. But the tour is interrupted when Hiroto receives a game request. This game is organized by Leber Media and has a big audience in a stadium. The challenger is Urasaka Haru-senpai, a rank 3-star. Urasaka challenges Hiroto to a 100 meters race with no rules. Urasaka brings out her motorbike for the race. Hiroto's plan is to interfere with her using his abilities. However, Urasaka reveals that she can nullify his interference. Urasaka starts the race fast, but her bike suddenly stops and she falls. Hiroto had used his abilities, including one to disable her defenses and Kagaya's hacking, to make her bike stop. Hiroto wins again. After the race, Rino approaches Hiroto. She's relieved he didn't get humiliated and hands him an invitation to meet at a cafeteria. They meet at the cafe and talk. Rihanna explains that she was chosen to pretend to be Sarasa because the real Sarasa got kidnapped and the family needed a replacement. Aime's headmistress wouldn't protect Hiroto if he hadn't beaten the real Sarasa. This is a problem for Hiroto because he came to the island to find a childhood friend he hadn't seen in years. He can't risk getting kicked off the island. So they decide to team up and exchange contact information to stay in touch. Rina shows up at Hiroto's academy, feeling a bit sad that he didn't text her the night before. They're talking when someone comes looking for revenge on behalf of the Empress. Hiroto confidently accepts the challenge and schedules the game for Sunday. Later, Rina and Hiroto decide to meet up to plan their strategy. When they arrive at Hiroto's dorm, they're surprised to see Shirayuki, who knows about Rina's lie because she used to work for the Seonji family. There seems to be some hostility between Shirayuki and Rina. They're planning a strategy meeting and Kurosaki suggests a game with 27 forms. The game involves collecting cards numbered 0 to 19 scattered around the area to make a hand of 5 cards in numerical order. Shirayuki comes up with a plan to hinder their opponents and gain an advantage even if the opponents try to adjust the numbers. Hiroto faces a big challenge because of the difference in their abilities, so Shirayuki advises him to pick numerical adjustment, luck, and display bug as his abilities. Sunday arrives and the game begins. Right away, Hiroto's luck ability helps him get 2 high-value cards, but Kubasaki has already collected 2 cards, which shouldn't have been revealed yet. This means he's using the Explore ability to find cards faster. Hiroto notices that 5 minutes have passed, but more cards haven't been revealed. Kubasaki is using Explore to find all the cards before Hiroto can see them. Kubasaki wants to collect 18 out of the 20 cards to win. Hiroto collects 14 cards, but Kubasaki uses emergency mobilization to block public transport. Thankfully, Headmistress Ichinos gets Hirosaka to give Hiroto a bike ride. Hiroto finds the next card on the 3rd floor, but falls 2 stories and passes out while getting it. When he wakes up, he's badly hurt with blood on his forehead. But Hiroto is determined to keep going because he wants to find his friend and protect Rina's secret. Rina tells him the truth that Saraso wasn't really kidnapped. She wanted to go to a normal school, so Rina pretended she was kidnapped and took her to the mainland. Hiroto is too determined to give up. He plans to use the Rule Breaker ability to change the game. When they reveal their cards, Kubasaki has 18 and Hiroto only has 2. But Hiroto has a trick. He stalls for time and reveals that he used Display Bug, not Rule Breaker, to change the rule. Now Kubasaki has no cards left and Hiroto wins. Hiroto is still hurt badly and gets taken to the healthcare center. Shirayuki and Headmistress Ichinos meet in her office. Hiroto gained the Indigo Star from his battle with Kaguzaki. Normally, white stars get replaced with colored ones, but if there aren't any, a colored star is added. So, Hiroto could potentially become an all-colored 7-star. While walking in the corridors, Hiroto overhears Shirayuki practicing a speech in one of the rooms. She's leaving Oka Academy to join Aime Academy. After her speech, the teacher announces the mock games for the Inter-Academy contest. In this game, they won't exchange stars, it's a last man standing game. During a break, Shirayuki and Hiroto plan a strategy to win, but they're interrupted by Akizuki Noa, a 3rd-year girl who tries to flirt with Hiroto because he's popular. Shirayuki warns Hiroto to stay away from Akizuki, who has a reputation as a troublesome 6-star. Hiroto goes to see Headmistress Ichinos. She helped Shirayuki transfer to Aime Academy and asks for something in return. She tells Hiroto about a stolen green star that has a perception-altering ability and could be dangerous. Ichinos believes the thief will come after Hiroto, and she needs his help to find the culprit. The day of the trial tournament starts, and Hiroto and Shirayuki try to avoid people. But after a lecture, they can't block a challenge from Akizuki. Later, Gaia works on an app to send challenges to Shirayuki instead of Hiroto and has an emergency bail feature. The next day, Shirayuki plays a game on Hiroto's behalf, and he has to avoid people. But he runs into Akizuki, who holds him down. Students gather and Shirayuki arrives just in time to take Hiroto's place in the game. Akizuki's plan still works because many students see Hiroto avoiding battles, making him look bad. That evening, Shirayuki realizes they're out of cutlet sauce for dinner and goes to buy some. Hiroto gets a call from Akizuki, who has captured Shirayuki and plans to use her to reveal Hiroto's secret. Akizuki has Shirayuki captive and hands her the phone. She asks Hiroto not to try to win the next game, but Hiroto and Rina sit together to come up with a strategy. They don't know how to contact the company, but luckily Kagaya enters the scene. Hiroto tells Kagaya about the kidnapping. Kagaya doesn't recognize Rina because she's wrapped in a hoodie. The 3 of them discuss how to win the scale and love triangle game against Shirayuki. In this game, each player starts with 10 cards and plays 1 card against each other. The player with the better card wins the round. Hiroto gets a text from Shirayuki about the ability she plans to use in the game. She'll use probability fluctuation to make her set stronger and force control to control Hiroto's moves, putting him at a disadvantage. But Kagaya is determined to win under Rina's guidance. They brainstorm all the possible abilities and cards in the game. Hiroto realizes that Kagaya needs to develop the enchant skill to turn things around. That night, Rina decides to stay over because it's too late to go home. She shares a room with Hiroto and gives him a card that allows him to use any rare ability. The next day, Hiroto and Shirayuki prepare for the game. As expected, Shirayuki uses probability fluctuation to get the stronger set and then force control to take control of Hiroto's moves, winning 7 cards on her side. Hiroto notices that Shirayuki wastes her undefeatable hero card, reducing the total number of cards to 20. He realizes Shirayuki created an opening for a draw match and only mentioned not winning. With this insight, Hiroto activates the Afterthought ability to anticipate Shirayuki's moves. They play cards to ensure Shirayuki wins all hands deliberately, and on the second-to-last card, Hiroto uses his Trojan horse card. This card returns 50% of the opponent's collection to the user, resulting in the match ending in a draw. Akazuki is furious about this outcome. Hiroto and Shirayuki confront her about her attempts to tarnish Hiroto's reputation. Shirayuki knows about the spyware and has evidence of Akazuki tampering with her device. Akazuki admits that jealousy drove her actions. Realizing the gravity of her actions, Akazuki thinks about activating the spyware and wiping all data from Shirayuki's device, which would get her expelled from Academy Island. But she also knows it would draw attention to her. In a desperate move, she grabs Shirayuki, ties her hands, and threatens to harm her. Akazuki demands one more game, but this time it won't be a trial, it will be a real battle for stars. The game starts between Hiroto and Akazuki, and are playing tabletop treasure hunt inside an empty school building. Hiroto realizes this game can end in a win or loss. There's no possibility of a draw. Akazuki calls Hiroto and asks if his partner is on or below the 3rd floor. She also explains the move command, which lets a player move 3 rooms at a time. They've hidden their partners in different rooms across the 6th floor building, with 8 classrooms on each floor. Hiroto is looking for Yuki, while Akazuki is searching for Sarasa. Akazuki reveals she has the double action ability, giving her 2 turns in a row. Hiroto contacts Rina for help in understanding the game and strategizing. She explains the retreat button, which lets them move their partners at the cost of an answer point. Akazuki's plan is to use double action to corner Hiroto and force him to use all his answer points. Despite understanding the rules and abilities, Hiroto is in a tough spot. If Yuki loses, we'll have to leave the island, and if he wins, his journey ends. Hiroto reassures Sarasa that he has a plan to make Akazuki regret cheating. Using the command he learned from Akazuki, Hiroto figures out that Yuki is on or below the 3rd floor. He moves 3 spaces and ends his turn. Akazuki uses the double action to narrow down Sarasa's possible locations to 2 spots. For the next turn, Hiroto plans to rely on Kagaya's hacking to pinpoint Yuki's location. But Akazuki uses the area barrier ability to block external server communication. Hiroto realizes he must rely on Sarasa's expertise for his moves. Hiroto uses Sarasa's advice to guess that Yuki is in classroom 1K. Akazuki also narrows down Sarasa's location to classroom 2I. Both sides make accurate predictions, and Akazuki uses her retreat option to move Yuki to another classroom, losing an answer point. Hiroto does the same, moving Sarasa while sacrificing an answer point. Because of the change, Yuki has to move on foot and crosses paths with Hiroto. Hiroto suggests she warm up the room since it gets cold after 10 p.m. to avoid catching a cold. Hiroto realizes that Akazuki has been predicting his moves because of the green star's effect, but she can't predict Sarasa's moves. Hiroto decides to use this to his advantage. He thinks that Akazuki has hidden Yuki in places he wouldn't consider, so he has Sarasa guide him every step of the way. Sarasa uses their current location and accessible places to narrow down Yuki's potential locations to 3 rooms, 3E, 3J, or 3 litters. Akazuki is furious and puzzled by how Hiroto narrowed it down. To avoid losing, Akazuki uses another answer point to retreat and move Yuki randomly. Sarasa gets anxious about this change, but Hiroto assures her he has a plan. By the 5th turn, both players have used their second retreat option. Hiroto extends the game by chatting until 10 p.m. Just before 10 p.m., Hiroto confidently names classroom 3G as Yuki's location. Akazuki is shocked at how quickly he figures it out. Hiroto reminds her of the advice he gave Yuki during the first retreat, to stay warm once it's 10 p.m. Yuki understood the clue and turned on the air conditioning in her classroom, which showed on the staff room monitor. Hiroto had secretly placed Yuki in the staff room to convey the monitor reading. Akazuki reveals her final ability, Alter Fate, which changes Hiroto's answer to never happen. She rushes to the staff room and finds Hiroto's partner. She's surprised to find out that Sarasa was Hiroto's partner all along. Hiroto uses his Pinch Hitter ability card, which can be used from outside a game. Yuki used the card to switch places with Hiroto. This means Akazuki defeated Yuki, not Hiroto, foiling her plan. The abilities Akazuki transferred to Yuki's device revert to Akazuki due to the swap, making them useless. Without these abilities, Akazuki can't hold Yuki hostage anymore. Hiroto talks to Akazuki, and she explains why she did all this. She wanted to join the island's grade schools, but they only accepted elite students, so she worked hard to become the top student at Aime Academy, and Hiroto ruined her plans. She admits that the headmaster of Seijo Academy in District 12 offered to fulfill her dreams if she defeated Hiroto and took his stars. She apologizes for trying to harm Yuki and expresses her sadness, knowing that this might be her last day on the island.